Asthma attacks affect about 260 million people around the world, but the medication needed to stop these scary episodes sometimes doesn't even work. But this may no longer be the case because they just found a much better alternative. From a cutting-edge gene therapy tool that kills cancer cells with ultrasound to the discovery of an entirely new species of monkey, crocodile, and owl, here are 10 good news stories that'll put a spring in your step this week. To start with, we're going to talk about energy, because the United Kingdom's renewable energy power is set to overtake fossil fuels for the very first time. Over the last couple of years, the United Kingdom has led the way in clean energy. In 2024, they reached a major milestone by closing their last coal power plant. So it may not come as a surprise to learn that wind, solar, and hydropower together are now forecast to produce more electricity than fossil fuels. According to global think tank Ember, by the end of 2024, 37% of the United Kingdom's energy will have been generated by renewables, while only 35% will have come from non-renewables. Now, this has been caused by a couple of long-term factors. Overall electricity demand, for example, has continued to decrease as a result of higher prices, more efficient appliances and lighting, and less industry in general. The more obvious one, though, is the rapid decline in coal power. In the short term, a massive reduction in gas usage and a rise in the adoption of wind power are also to credit for this promising milestone. Okay, on to the environment now and over to China, which has completed a 3,000-kilometer green belt around its biggest desert. The Taklamakan Desert, which is about the size of Finland, is located in northwestern China, and it's causing the nation a load of problems. The main issue is that it's gradually expanding in a process known as desertification, which is when fertile land is slowly subsumed and transformed into desert. This is exacerbated naturally by the effects of climate change. Put simply, less rain means more droughts, which in turn increases the frequency of arid, dry conditions that create deserts. It's also made worse by human activities, like deforestation, overgrazing, and intensive agriculture. These practices strip vegetation and nutrients from the soil that protect it, making it more susceptible to erosion from sandstorms. These conditions then sometimes cause situations like this in major cities. To combat this, the 3 North Shelter Belt Project, also known as the Great Green Wall, was initiated in 1978. One of the best ways to halt desertification is to plant more trees. And so one of the objectives was to create a huge expanse of forest to surround the Taklamakan Desert. In the last month, the Chinese achieved just that when they announced that they had finished planting the greenbelt after a whopping 46 years of hard work. It took that long because the Chinese were experimenting for decades to find the sturdiest trees and plants. Now, some have questioned the effectiveness of the project, pointing out the fact that sandstorms still reach as far away as Beijing, but then again, although small, desertification has actually decreased from a decade ago, showing that they are probably heading in the right direction despite the naysayers. Alright guys, go grab your sunglasses and your sunscreen, because we're going to Barbados, which has just negotiated a deal that'll allow them to swap debt for climate resilience projects. Like many other island nations, the effects of climate change have been far more noticeable for the citizens of Barbados. This has been most apparent in the realm of water supply. Because there aren't that many natural streams and rivers, Barbadians have to get their freshwater drinking supply from underground caves. But because of rising sea levels, these underground aquifers are being increasingly infiltrated with salt. Adding to the complication is that Barbados, despite having a thriving tourism industry, is a developing country that has a lot of debt. Because they're obliged to pay back their creditors, they're actually unable to invest the proper resources needed to face their climate challenges. Now, this is where a debt swap comes in. This is a financial arrangement in which creditors agree to loan money for a particular infrastructure project designed to save money. These long-term savings are used to partly pay back the debt. In the case of Barbados, they'll invest $165 million lent to them from international organizations such as the Inter-American Development Bank and the European Investment Bank to upgrade a pre-existing sewage treatment plant into a water reclamation facility. This is expected to double water availability on the island by 2050 and save a whopping $125 million. You know what? It's been a great week for H2O in general, because New Mexico has voted to protect around 400 kilometers of river and stream from pollution. Let's rewind back to June 2023, when the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of an Idaho couple who wanted to fill a wetland area to build a house. They announced that only relatively permanent, standing, or continuous flowing bodies of water could now be safeguarded by the federal government. With the setting of a new legal precedent, half of the United States wetlands became unprotected overnight. This included 93% of New Mexico's waters. This is because only 7% of them flow throughout the year, so the rest don't meet the definition of continuous. Having lost federal protections, the state of New Mexico took matters into their own hands. A petition started by the New Mexico Environmental Department in August was recently adopted by state-level lawmakers. About 400 kilometers of waterway have been officially branded as outstanding national resource waters. This means that any activities that degrade the quality of water, such as dumping pollutants into it, are now outlawed. Next up, we move to medicine, and to a new remote-controlled gene therapy that uses ultrasound to kill cancer. But before we cover this incredible story, we quickly want to thank our partner CyberGhost VPN for sponsoring this video. With over 38 million users worldwide and over 20,000 excellent reviews on Trustpilot, it's one of the best VPNs out there. So let us quickly tell you why CyberGhost is such a great choice. A VPN is essential for protecting your digital privacy. Plenty of eyes are watching you every time you go online, and even incognito mode doesn't prevent that. Your internet service provider, your school or work's IT department, even your own home Wi-Fi router, all of these can track what you do online. And that's where CyberGhost VPN comes in. Simply select one of their over 100 locations before you browse to encrypt and reroute all of your traffic through their secure servers. This way, no one will even know about your online activity. CyberGhost also unlocks geo-restricted games and content from over 40 streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney+. You can even score better deals online by simply changing your virtual location. It works on all major devices and operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and you can protect up to 7 devices at the same time. Perfect for sharing with friends and family. With our link, cyberghostvpn.com/good news, you get their best deal ever. Just $2.03 a month plus 4 months for free, which is 84% off. There's even a 45-day money-back guarantee, so you literally have nothing to lose. It's a great product, we can definitely recommend it, and by signing up using our link in the description, you also help us to create more videos just like this one. And now, back to the good news. CRISPR is a technology that allows scientists to edit parts of the human genome by removing, adding, and editing segments of DNA sequences. This is achieved using an enzyme called Cas9, which can be manipulated to cut specific strands of DNA. Most importantly, it can transform harmful DNA variants into healthy ones in order to eliminate genetic diseases like cancer. That's like something out of a sci-fi show, but it's real, we promise. But just like any emerging technology, there are still a few issues that need to be addressed before it becomes fully mainstream. Until recently, a big one was that CRISPR had a tendency to stray away from the specific area of the body it was targeting. Another was that it continued to edit genes even after the treatment was over, which could cause unwanted alterations. Now, a new method has seemingly fixed these problems once and for all. Researchers at the University of California have illustrated in mice that ultrasound can turn it on and off. The underlying mechanism at play here is the fact that CRISPR responds to heat. When a particular bodily region is blasted with an ultrasound pulse, it induces a temperature change that can activate and deactivate the gene editing process. While it's too early to say if the same thing will happen in humans, it's certainly a very exciting development. Okay, sticking with the medical theme, let's turn our attention to dark chocolate, which has been found to reduce type 2 diabetes risk by 21%. Dark chocolate's positive effect on gut health and its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties have been well documented, but it actually remains one of the most controversial foods in nutritional science. This is mainly because up until recently, researchers had no clue whether it caused type 2 diabetes due to inconsistent findings. But a study out of the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, however, may have just put this argument to bed once and for all. Using data from 3 long-term food consumption questionnaires filled out by over 190,000 American healthcare workers, they compared the overall pros and cons of dark, milk, and white chocolate. The results showed that those who ate at least 1 serving of dark chocolate 5 times per week while avoiding milk chocolate reduced their risk of contracting type 2 diabetes by 21%. At the moment, the explanation for this strong association remains unclear, so follow-up trials are needed in the near future. And hey guys, if you're watching that, I would like to sign up as a volunteer, so just send me an application in the comments, okay? Okay, for our last story in this category, we're going to talk about the first new treatment for asthma in 50 years. Asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, are chronic respiratory diseases caused by inflammation and muscle tightening around the airways. This causes breathlessness, which usually appears in short bursts called exacerbations, which, if not dealt with correctly, can potentially be fatal. These types of flare-ups are usually caused by an overconcentration of eosinophils, a type of white blood cell. When this happens, sufferers often take steroid tablets, the standard treatment is called prednisolone, to calm the inflammation, a method that hasn't changed in 50 years. The problem is, though, that these sometimes cause unwanted side effects like diabetes and osteoporosis. Another big drawback is that it often fails in a lot of patients. This can lead to repeat treatment, rehospitalization, and even death. Thankfully, scientists from King's College London have just identified a much better alternative. Usually injected, benralizumab fights against the eosinophils, white blood cells responsible for exacerbations. It's already prescribed to manage long-term symptoms of severe asthma, and it turns out that it's also successful in emergency situations. Taking just one dose of it during exacerbations has proven to be much more effective than swallowing steroid tablets. According to those findings, after 90 days, those who took benralizumab were 4 times less likely to fail treatment than those who took the standard steroids. Okay, real quick before we continue, we'd really love it if you could give us your support and feedback in the comments. If you want to see more of these types of stories specifically, subscribe to our channel to get your weekly installment of goodness. Okay, now back to the video. Moving on to society now, and to Africa, where women have been taking the continent's politics by storm. First up, we've got Ghana, which has just elected their first ever female vice president. Born in 1951, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Agyemang has been dismantling gender norms for a very long time. Following a distinguished career as an English literature academic, in 2008, she became the first woman to lead a public university in the country. Then, in 2020, she became the first female vice presidential candidate selected by one of Ghana's main political parties, the National Democratic Congress. Her election to vice president in December marks a watershed moment for the country's female population, who have often been underrepresented in the political sphere. Namibia, however, has gone one step further because the nation has just elected its first ever female president. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah is no stranger to the top of power. She already served as Namibia's vice president, being promoted to the position when the last president died in office in February. Now, she has his job because in December, she won national elections with 53% of the popular vote. Namibians voted for her in droves because she's generally viewed as a reliable and experienced stateswoman who isn't tarnished by corruption. Suffice it to say, both of these elections signify a huge step forward for African women. Last but not least, we have some great news about animals. The thick-billed parrot is making a comeback after decades of decline. Before we go on, we want to let you guys know how proud we are that we've reached 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. It's amazing to see so many people coming together to spread positivity. You guys honestly inspire us to keep going, and we're so excited to make your 2025 just a little bit brighter. Oh, and we've also added something new to celebrate: Good News memberships. If you've been enjoying the channel and you want to support us, you can now join as a member. It's a simple way to help us keep sharing positive stories. And for those who want even more good news, you can now sign up for our exclusive content, where we share even more good news with you every month. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. And now, let's get back to the good news. The thick-billed parrot is typically found nesting in the pine trees of the Sierra Madre mountain range that encompasses northern Mexico and parts of Arizona. Unfortunately, though, in recent times, this beautiful bird has been suffering from a serious population decline. This is mainly because of deforestation from logging, agriculture, and wildfires, and the fact that they're hunted for food and for sport. Preservation efforts go back 30 years, but significant financial support has only been available for the last few years. Since 2019, with the backing of some major donors like the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, Mexican civil and government organizations have spearheaded a massive campaign to save this iconic creature. Now they're reaping the rewards because a recent census has shown their total population to be 2,500. That's a 10% increase from 12 years ago. This is largely due to successful forestry management practices, which include more effectively extinguished wildfires. If this upward trend continues, conservationists believe the thick-billed parrot could even recolonize their own homes on the American side of the border without human intervention. Alright, to wrap up today's video, let's cover some news about some brand new additions, because a report from the World Wildlife Federation has revealed that 742 new species have been discovered over the past decade in the Congo Basin. The Congo Basin, which stretches across 6 African countries, is one of the most biodiverse places on the entire planet. It boasts about 10,000 different plant species and just over 2,000 breeds of mammals, birds, and fish. And these are just the ones that we know about, because this mysterious rainforest is still home to scores of living beings that are still unknown to us. Amazingly, over the past decade, precisely 742 new critters were cataloged, according to the latest review from the WWF. The highlights included a slender-snouted crocodile and a vibrantly colored breed of killifish that's blue, beige, orange, and red. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, they also came across an owl that sounds like a cat. That hurts my head. Also making appearances for the first time were a new dragonfly named after a Pink Floyd album and an undiscovered breed of venomous bush viper dubbed Atheris hetfieldi after James Hetfield from Metallica. They even found a monkey called a lasula that has human-like eyes, a blue backside, and a bassy, low call that reverberates around the forest. Well, I think that's a pretty good note to end on for today. Which of these newly discovered animals do you think is the coolest? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want to try CyberGhost VPN, make sure to use our link in the description. CyberGhost VPN will protect your data while you browse and give you full access to all blocked content on the internet. It's a great VPN, just like their current deal, for $2.03 a month and 45 days money back guaranteed, so it's totally risk-free. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.